What's up, deal makers? This was Ask Alex number 76. We've been going strong for 76 weeks, and this week we were deal reviewing our biggest deal yet. Alex, what were your biggest takeaways, man?
Man, huge takeaways on this huge deal, right? We went through the property itself. We went through the numbers. We went through all the challenges that we encountered during this transaction and this heavy lift of buying our first multifamily deal and so much more. So check out the webinar and tell us what you think. Let's go. Yo, what's up? What's up? Aloha, my deal makers. How's everybody doing? I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. So what's up, Aloha? What's up? What's up? So we're gonna get my co-host, Will Wall, into the webinar today. We're gonna be going over our 18-unit acquisition in Phoenix, Arizona. We're gonna go over all the things that we went through, some of the learning lessons. We're currently here right now in Scottsdale, Arizona, going to the property, looking at it, meeting with contractors. Let me promote Will to the panelists. And yeah, we're gonna go through some numbers. We're gonna go through some of the challenges we went through in the acquisition because there were several. So excited to share with you guys what we've learned and what we're gonna do with the property and some of the other things that we've kind of made some decisions on recently, spending time here in Phoenix. It's a fun city. It's vibrant. There's so much to do here. And then we have so many good friends that we're connecting with here. Right, Will? You're over there in the Airbnb with me in the balcony, or I think it's like a sunroom.
Yeah, man, it's been a fun time out here in Scottsdale. I know we've gotten to connect with a lot of other investors, but getting a lot of work done as well. So it's been truly exciting.
Yeah, and we got an assistant with us, Carlos. He's been helping us with all the errands and driving around and meeting so many people. So Will and I are on and off calls. It's funny, we're usually remote. So he's in LA, I'm in Hawaii or Mexico or some other place, and we're just getting things done remotely. But when we're together, man, both of us are on the phone constantly in different meetings. And it's kind of cool to spend time with my man here and get stuff done while we're on the road.
Yes, sir. And I mean, again, we kind of got to come out here and even, partake in a little, mastermind, a little bit of due diligence out here, checking in on our property. So it's just been kind of all around the great trip. We'd planned on coming out here for a week, right? So that we could get some stuff done. And like you mentioned, man, we got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, dude. Super cool. So let's jump right in, dude. What's up?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get things started here. Would love it if everybody, I see a couple familiar faces over there, Allie and Ulysses, but go ahead and let us know where it is that you're tuning in from if you're joining us today. Would love to just kind of get a idea of where people are at. I know, as Alex mentioned, we're out here in Phoenix, Arizona, specifically out in Scottsdale, beautiful little suburb here of Phoenix. And Alex, what else has been going on? I know you weren't here at the beginning of the week. We kind of did this midway through last week. So what was kind of going on in between there?
Yeah, so we started some work on our new Maui flip. I was in Maui until late last week, and then we flew over to Oahu, but started some demo on that property. Got things moving along on that one. And what's interesting about that property is that Amari, our project manager in LA, has taken the job of managing that property. So he's flying in. He's gonna be able to spend about a month on the property there in the initial phase and get to stay at our Maui estate over there. So I'm super excited for him. He's earned it. And we just don't have anybody else that's capable of handling that rehab at the moment. It's an important deal. So isn't that cool, right, Will? Like that one of our team members actually get to spend a month over there in Hawaii, partly with his family there, and to help us get that project off the ground.
Well deserved though. I mean, we always say that, we have the place available for acquisitions guys when they get deals, but same thing for our project managers. When somebody's able to go out there and take advantage of the property, take some of his skill set that he's developed out here in LA, and becoming an incredible project manager and be able to kind of take that out and transfer that out into a very special property out in Maui on the island. That's super cool. And like you said, gets to bring the family out there and hang out at the same time. So well deserved from our guy, Amari.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited for him. We'll definitely spend some time together there. It's a big house. And we also got an epic hike last weekend over there in Oahu. Went canoe surfing with my guy, Indar, one of our great friends on the island of Oahu, a huge flipper. out there. The reason I went to Oahu was really business purposes. We have a project that's a bit behind schedule there, that oceanfront beach house that we bought on Oahu on the west side. So we went there, picked the contractor, or got that back on track. But we also got a huge discount on the deal. So we know we can weather this storm. It's just challenging to rehab property in Hawaii. And that's why we don't buy a lot of houses in Hawaii, right, Will? We just buy the right ones, the deals that make the most sense. We're very choosy and picky on the deals we do there. But on another note, more on the teamwork and the team, one of our team members got a promotion. Shout out to Mike Wynn. He's been with us now first as a Maui intern. So he spent some time on Maui with us over there to help get that house finished. The Maui State. He's been helping a lot with some of the meetups we've been doing, also some of the operations. And then we recently transitioned him to helping with the more so on the private lender stuff. And now because of he has this aptitude and this ability to do a lot of the operations, a lot of the system stuff that we're not really that excited about, right, Will? And so he got a promotion to kind of run our operations going forward and work with the virtual assistant and work with the team to just be more efficient and build better processes and what we're already working on. So shout out to, we love to see the growth of our team members, individually, collectively. So I definitely think that's a big win. Also, since we got here to Scottsdale weekend because of our 18 unit acquisition, it happened to fall on the weekend of a huge event by Carlos Reyes and all the All-In Nation people. Huge fan of those guys and all the stuff they're doing. And Ryan Pineda, one of our mentors and coaches, he was a speaker. So we got to hang out with a lot of people, attend some of the parts of the event. We were very busy with what we were working on the 18 unit, but we got to do some massive amount of networking a couple of nights we've been here with some of the people that came in town for that. Had some fun, went out and kind of enjoyed Scottsdale, Old Town. It's very lively, guys. If you've never been, I suggest you check out Old Town Scottsdale if you want to have a party, you want to have a good time. And one last thing, guys.
What do we call it now, Alex? Downtown Scottsdale, the Vortex, right?
The Vortex.
Because, man, when you walk out of that place, you are spinning, right? I mean, this place was a lot of activity. And I know for Alex, he gets to kind of travel around pretty regularly and see that. But one thing that we always notice, guys, that you don't want to underestimate is, like, if you're looking for properties, you want to kind of be within those areas of development. And Scottsdale is certainly on that area of development map line. Would you agree?
Absolutely, man. It's fancy. It's beautiful. There's so much changing, and you can tell there's so much money being poured. And here in the area, if you haven't visited, I've said this in previous webinars and just meetings and people that I talked to, that I was ignorant to the quality of life here in Arizona. Although I knew a lot of people were moving there, it's not new to understand that. Actually spending time here, going out, eating, some of the nightlife, hanging out with and going to lunch with some of our friends and all that, we see that there's a super high quality of life, and Scottsdale is kind of like that upper kind of, the higher end area of this, kind of area. So really happy we got to spend some time here. But today we're going to be talking about the 18 unit, our first multifamily acquisition. Super excited to share with you guys some of the details of this deal because it was a super heavy lift, caused a lot of stress, and it made us all kind of, to really bring our A game to get this to the finish line in the way we did. So let's talk about that. Let's jump in. Anything else we need to cover, Will?
Yeah, real quickly. I mean, like you said, it was a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of activity, but we say this on the same thing on acquisitions, right? If you can't get in touch with somebody, probably means that other people aren't able to get in touch with them either, right? And so, usually things that are at the tougher end of the road tend to have the bigger rewards once you get through those obstacles. So, although this was extremely stressful and a different process, we're going to break this deal down right now and really kind of show you guys like why all that stress kind of still made it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to drop, we have to put that link for the
Facebook? I want to also give you guys a opportunity here. I know we got a couple of folks that are pretty regularly, attending our webinars, and we do have an opportunity for a couple of new folks to kind of join our team here virtually. So I'm just going to post a link there. It's in the chat, and we're looking for a couple of new Facebook moderators. So we've had the same moderators in there for about a year now. And we're going to go ahead and pass the torch and have another few folks kind of join in, become a little bit more active in the Facebook group, and help us out with kind of growing the vibe of the tribe. So if that's something that you are interested in, go ahead and click that link in there. In addition to, obviously the title of Facebook moderator, you obviously get direct access to Alex and I, and a ton of new opportunities that are usually reserved for our team members. So keep that in mind. And if you guys do have any interest, go ahead and fill out that form there, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, it's what we have as a conversation after the webinar. We host a webinar weekly, but a lot of, what we do is we connect with people on the Facebook group because that's difficult to do only on Instagram. And so it is one of those platforms that we just leverage so that we can stay connected. And that, there's things that we announce there ahead of time, and things that, that we do on there that we don't do on any other platform. So if you're helpful, if you are pretty well versed with Facebook and some of the stuff there on the groups, then it'd be nice to have you guys, and, like you said, pass the torch on to someone else. And be kind of heading off a little bit of the tribe there on Facebook. So, all right, guys. So we're jumping into this 18-unit multifamily. Wanted to go through the numbers, also kind of like the when, the what, where, when, how, why. So is that how we're gonna do it? We'll just kind of jump right in into all that, and then eventually get to some of these pictures. And I'll be sharing my screen, right?
Yeah, of course. We'll have you kind of share your screen, show a good little bit of this, and then after we kind of do a dive into it, I'd love to kind of open up the floor for everybody at the end, like we normally do, where you guys can kind of ask some questions. I know, normally we're in here, we're talking about fixing and flipping. We're talking about, a kind of a separate business than diving into multifamily. So like normal, guys, after we kind of dive into this, we will open up the floor and, kind of have a little open session so everybody can communicate and see what questions you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the first thing I'll start with is just sharing my screen. All right. So what we normally do is just jump right in to the kind of aerial view, just so you guys kind of take a look at it and just kind of get an idea of the location. I mean, really what we do always just to see the property from above. And I have a little bit more of a detailed picture. It's going to show the bedroom back, the kind of unit mix that we have on the property. But it's really well located, because if we zoom out a little bit, we're only about 10 minutes away. Let me just, as you see Old Town Scottsdale is only 10 minutes away, 10, 15 minutes, close, centrally located to the airport. So it's very centrally located. It's in this area called at the foothills of the Papago, the Papago Mountains there. And really, it is in an area where there's a lot happening. If we zoom in, you can see some of the other multifamily in the area. These apartments back here are newly renovated or somewhat newer build. So, we see that a lot of money is being invested into the area. And the Duff apartment, this one, at the time it wasn't sold, but this one recently sold, top dollar. Also, partially one of our comps of where we're seeing where the market is at. But yeah, it's definitely where we looked at, okay, it's essentially multiple structures. So it looks like a mix of duplexes and triplexes and whatnot. But it's this entire area. And if we switch the view over to, not the calculator, sorry. This, I don't know, can you guys see my screen here with the unit mix? Yeah, okay, good. As you see, so there's essentially two bedrooms right in the front. And then this kind of similar 2 bedrooms, 2 bath units that are right next to each other. You see it's kind of backloaded. There's a huge front yard, a lot of area where we could potentially convert into a community space, something where it can be used a little bit more than what it is now. Also, these two.
And these are all 1 bath units, right, Alex?
Yes, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And then you see that these huge backyards. And so we have this one vacant, and then these 3 over here vacant. And then I believe we have 1, 2, so 7 vacancies out of 18 units are currently vacant. 3 on this side, and then 5 on this side. I'm sorry. No, that's 1, 2. So
yeah, the 4 on the left side.
Sorry, 4 on the left side currently. So what we figured is that we kind of drew up a game plan of the way we're going to rehab the building, because it's almost like we want to do it like kind of in sections in some ways. It's kind of, we don't want to disrupt the community. But there is going to be constructions. People do know that new owners are now taking over. So we're essentially going to be giving notice to one of the 2 tenants that's still on this side. So that way we can really begin to work most of the construction on this side of the building, and then we just rehab the couple units here that are vacant, get top dollar for them, but not necessarily work on the exterior or any of the other units, or giving people notices, and then getting them to vacate, to then go ahead and do the value add on those units, because we're going to be working for about 3 to 4 months on this whole section. And then once that's done, then we can really kind of shift attention to this area. And our target really is 8 to 12 months to be fully rehabbed and refinanced, or in a position to sell and 1031 this into a bigger complex if we decide not to keep this one. But yeah, any questions, guys? You see, this is what's called a unit mix. And then we've walked in a lot of these units already. We've walked the property several times. And so this kind of like a general game plan. And that's what we do.
And Alex, I mean, that aerial view there is great, right? Because it gives us a good kind of overview of what it is that we're looking at on the property. So guys, just like on a single family flip, that's why we kind of do this aerial view. That's why we kind of look on Google, is we want to see what's around us, see what kind of curb appeal we have, and what our unit looks like in comparison to units around us. So although this is a multifamily, a lot of these strategies that we use on single family, they kind of transfer directly over, right, Alex?
Yes, absolutely. Because it almost feels like we're flipping, and it doesn't even feel like 18 houses. I'd say it feels like flipping, I don't know, 8, 9 houses at once or something like that, right?
Correct. So a lot of the same principles are going to apply.
Yeah, and then I think there was some other stuff in here in the folder that I wanted to share with you guys, just some simple pictures, because as you can see, the front of the building, it's not that appealing. It's dated, and so we have, you guys just seen the aerial view, but this is one view. So we're looking to provide some fencing here. We're going to completely paint the building. So just a ton of ways for us to just improve the curb appeal for potential tenants and really create a community there, a smaller community, right? So the buildings that you live in, that's your home. So we want to create a more of a homey atmosphere, which we don't see right now currently. Now this picture is of the lot next door. They've already erected a good portion of this new development right next to us. If we go back to the aerial view, you'll see that this one, there was a property there on this aerial view, but it's no longer there. They demoed it, and now they're building what I believe is 10 to 12 units there. So
a lot of activity on the block, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that means there's other investors that are investing huge amounts of money into developing right next to our lot, which obviously those are going to go for a lot more, whether they sell or they rent. But that is usually a positive thing when you're doing deals, and that could be for multi or for single family. That there's investments being made in nearby areas, so therefore that's usually good. Because
I was going to say, Alex, like same thing applies there to single families too, right? When we buy a single family and you see big construction around it, that means other big investors are investing in the same neighborhood that you're investing into. So that usually trends positively.
I will add this, though, kind of a side caveat is that when there's active construction next to potential deals that you're doing, that could also provide a bit of a challenge or an issue, because if for whatever reason you say you're not pulling permits and you have active city inspectors driving by and looking at these properties, and you have construction going on, you might have issues with the city, or inspectors might want to know what you're doing. So just keep that in mind, you guys. So with us, obviously we're trying to keep a low profile, and so that's something that kind of came up in the walk of the property, that there's active construction next door. We kind of need to execute our plan based on that being the case. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. Okay, good. So just that awareness, what's happening right in the area. So we're going to go through some numbers in a minute. But I did want to show another part of the value add play that any way you can repurpose the property, or, that's why it's called value add. These are 5 vacant storage units on our property. If you look from the aerial view, it's right over here by the carport. And so essentially they're just not being used. They're talking about maybe demoing them. Well, we have a couple of purposes that we're going to be using them for. So we'll be cleaning them up, painting them, changing the doors, and we'll be able to store in maybe about half of these, or 2 of those 5 units, some of our materials for some of the units that we're rehabbing. So they don't have to be out in the open, and they can be stored away from the weather. So that's the tip that we got from one of our multifamily mentors. They'll have like a vacant unit and have a bunch of stuff in there, drywall and wood and washer drying machines, all that for potential units that are coming up. And so it's storage. So also on another note, we noticed while we were walking on the property that these units would be really good storage potential for the units that are right here. These 1 bedrooms here and 2 bedroom and or the studio, like mostly these 3 because they're very small units with not a lot of closet space. So if those were, they're kind of cleaned up and usable and functional, then we could rent those out to those tenants. Now, another part, I don't have a good picture of it, my bad, but this whole area over here is just basically wasted. The mailboxes are right here, but there's nothing being done right here. There's a small, I guess, structure there.
Small gazebo structure there, yeah.
Gazebo with, kind of nice bench there. So we'll keep that. We're going to repair the roof and do some repair there. But we're going to be creating some type of community space here where the people could use this. And, it's off it's not, onto the street. So it's kind of back there. It's completely wasted. And portion of that could be like a little bit of a dog, kind of like a pet park there, or, whatnot, right? So it's just a big space that we can use that's not currently. Also, we did not mention this, but within walking through the units, we noticed, and walking around here, we noticed that it might not look like that here, but these are actually nice little backyards we can create. So we're going to be creating backyards for all 4 of these units, making them feel like more of a home rather than just a small apartment, because they'll have outdoor, and then it could draw in some potential tenants that might also have pets. And then if you have the pet area over here, plus you have some storage, these are what you're
doing. And Alex, what do we call this on a multifamily? It's called a value add, right? So you're taking an area that has no value and you're creating value from it. And so I like how you pointed that out, right? Because there's 2 forms of value. There's one, the monetary value that we can gain from renting out those storage units. But then there's also the value that the neighborhood is going to see because you're adding these amenities and these features, right? And so that will bring you a better tenant mix of people that want to experience and enjoy those amenities, right?
Exactly. So if we have the modern,
so those are value adds, right?
Yeah. And because when these properties are constructed, the population, the demand, tenant pool, all that is different. So now, fast forward 50, 60 years, we need to kind of repurpose this and to, reintroduce into the modern kind of era with what's happening right now, what's appealing to people right now. And people do want storage. People do want some outdoor space. And really, when we were back there, even though a telephone pole or that power line is right there, there's a really nice view of line of sight to the Papago Mountains there. So it's like, okay, cool. There's a little bit of that kind of small appeal there because we are only 5-7 minute drive from that really nice rock structure that I posted on my Instagram yesterday. So you guys, any questions? Let's jump into the numbers. I know we've been kind of showing you the exterior, some of the plan we're doing for some of the layout of the property.
I want to see the numbers, Alex. I want to see the deal. Let's go.
All right. So let me see. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm gonna have to expand this a little bit. How do I close this? Okay, there we go. So let me zoom in on the numbers. Okay. So we ran the numbers kind of such as we would normally do on kind of a base case, worst case, best case. And what we end up kind of coming up with is kind of the return on investment, or the potential profit or potential equity created is somewhere close to $750,000. And then on the best case, it could be north of $1 million of equity created and or profit that we can make in 1031 to another building. So, I mean, it's a sizable deal, but it also has a sizable payday. And then on the worst case, we're showing a potential of just breaking even. In that case, we would just hold the property. It's not like we would do all this work and then just sell a property, break even. But for us, it's more of like, okay, what value can we add, increase this to? And then within that, where do we want to keep it because it's going to help us with some other things such as tax benefits? Or, I mean, do we just don't want to hold this for long term and rather 1031 this into a bigger asset, such as a 50 unit, 60, 80 unit, and see if there's something else we can do there. So usually that's a sign of a good deal.
Exit strategies, right?
Yeah, multiple exit strategies. So these are the kind of numbers we're confident that we can execute well and then get somewhere in between this number and this number, 645,000 to 1.1 million in either equity created or potential profit, somewhere in that ballpark. But as you see here, on the cash investment, it actually was that number ended up changing, increasing, but we had come to closing with somewhere around $1 million. So it was a real heavy lift because how much additional capital. But as a team, we put together I put $250,000 and Will put $100,000. So, you know, it's like $350,000 of the, you know, we put a sizable amount of equity into the deal ourselves because we believe in it that much. So any questions about the numbers, guys?
Yeah, feel free to use the Q&A chat feature down there at the bottom, guys. If you have any questions, you know, I know this is kind of our first time going over a deal like this on the webinar. So it's great to just kind of pay attention and listen on. But if you guys do have any questions, if you're not understanding any of the terms that Alex is using, that's why I wanted to kind of point out that value add term, because it's a little different than, you know, just rehabbing something on a single family. But again, if you guys have any questions, please do use that Q&A feature down there. We'd love to make sure that you guys are getting those answers. So Rob, like, great question. Do we have a copy of the spreadsheet? Yes, we do. I'll go ahead and send a copy of the Facebook link. You can join our Facebook group from this link. And if you get into that Facebook group, we'll have a copy of the calculator that we use. It's our deal maker calculator. And it'll be available for free in the files section of the Facebook group.
Yeah, so this form here we use to inform some of our potential money partners on the deal. We had to omit some things that we had in the other top section, but you see this is more of like kind of the condition of these units. I mean, they're not in the worst shape of the world, but they're definitely dated. And there's definitely some deferred maintenance on some of the roof and stuff we got to get to. But if you look at the numbers over here, we just showed you the calculated form of it, but this was essentially kind of how we structured a deal where we provided a 20% return on investment for all of our money partners. That was something that we came up with. We wanted to be generous. We know it's gonna be a good deal. So 20% annualized, I mean, is a good return. And our projected deal timeline is 8 months to 18 months. And we want to get closer to that. I think the 8 to 12 months, but something like this could take longer. But with the very attractive, I guess, property owner laws in Arizona, you can give people notice, and we have property a lot easier than, you know, California or Hawaii, where we predominantly do other type of, you know, most of our deals there. And that's why we love Arizona a lot because of just being a bit more property owner friendly state compared to, you know, Hawaii and California. So any questions about that, you guys? So this is how we ended up.
Yeah, we do have a question coming in from Randy. Great question, and you kind of answered it there. He's asking who provided the balance of the initial capital investment. And he's asking about the additional principal partners. And so, yeah, Alex, that's what you're kind of breaking down right here, right? Our total cash investment, that was what we needed to close this transaction, correct?
Yes, well, actually that number ended up going over $1 million. So we ended up having come to $1,050,000 was our total cash to close. So that ended up being $350,000 between you and I. And then the other, we raised $700,000 in private capital at 20%.
So just so you guys understand that, if you were to put in, you know, in this instance, we were asking for $100,000 minimum, and you would make an expected interest return on that of $20,000, you know, for every 100,000 that somebody was able to lend in. So that's how we were able to kind of fund the deal is a combination of you know, current partners such as Alex and myself, and then new money partners that were able to kind of come in and help us close that gap.
Yeah, yeah. And I was only planning to originally put 100, 150. So everybody had to, you know, kind of sacrifice to do what they had to do. But also, I think it can be huge on our tax strategy. So that's why we're looking to keep it, because based on initial research right now, we should be able to get $500,000 or more in depreciation that will help us tremendously with what we got going on in Southern California and all that. So that's another big win of this deal, that it's going to help offset a good amount of potential tax liability for the flip income that we have from all the properties we're flipping.
Good stuff, man. And I know, you know, when we send out these new funding opportunities, guys, it's like Alex said, that's kind of some of the information that we provide to potential lenders who are thinking about joining the project. And then, you know, we'll usually set up a one-on-one call with those folks and kind of go over a little bit more what their investing goals are and how we can kind of help them, grow their wealth together with us.
Yeah, exactly. And we love providing these opportunities, winning alongside other people. It's something that we would not be where we're at without all of our money partners. So we give them. I mean, one of our money partners is going to Hawaii, right? She's going to go to stay.
She's flying out next
her dad,
month.
her grandmother, and staying at the main unit there at the Maui estate for a whole week. No extra charges. They're paying for their flight and their airfare and their food. But I mean, they pretty much have a couple cars there they can use. They have the house. They have all the water equipment, and it's simply because it's just a way of rewarding these very important people in our life and business. They're helping us win. So, but that's super cool to be able to kind of provide that with the Maui house now that I'm not going to be there as much.
So, Alex, you mentioned something about tax. So you said, hey, this is a property that is going to help us, tremendously with our tax strategy. And Ali asked a great question. So Ali wants to know, are we going to be doing a cost segregation on this property?
Yes, we are. That's something that's a fancy word for basically saying this is the report based on how old the property is and how much you potentially depreciate. And so we came across this strategy by talking, some of our mentors, but that's exactly what we're doing. Now, another investor might not necessarily need as much tax benefit if they don't have as much active income. But however, with all the flip income that we do have, we do need that tax benefits and something that a property like this could provide. So that was a big reason and push for the step into multifamily because we realized that if we don't do that, then we're going to get stuck with a huge tax bill every single year. And if we can own multifamily and offset that, I mean, that's a much better overall play. And so, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
And I know you mentioned that that's like taking a value from how old the building used to be and how much new material, new equipment you kind of put in there. And as you mentioned, that's what allows us to use that as a tax strategy, right? Because we are, putting in physical improvements into a building, right?
Exactly. So if I'm using some of my money to rehab a property, to invest in a property, we're creating housing for people. The government, the U.S. government, and the IRS tax codes allow you things like this because we're providing jobs, right? We're providing housing for people, and this stuff that you get benefit for doing so. So yeah, we're definitely using that strategy, and it looks like we'll likely be doing the same going forward because we don't seem to be slowing down at all with the flipping business. And so if we're going to keep making more and more there, then we're going to need to position those profits and or put them into assets like this so we can for multiple reasons, the tax strategy, the additional cash flow that we're not going to be receiving from these properties that we're flipping because once we sell them, they're gone. So we look at flipping as kind of our main job, our main revenue stream, but the reason we're really trying to grow that so we can make a lot of money and then therefore be able to own a lot of real estate and buy a lot of rentals and buy a lot of multifamily. So there's nothing wrong with
what you're saying is tax strategy becomes important at some point, right? When you're netting a huge amount of income from one business, it kind of makes sense to have another business such as multifamily that you can assist your tax strategy with, correct?
Yes, exactly. And what we did the reason I brought this picture back up is because in walking the property, this unit here on the left, it turned out to be, kind of vacant. It wasn't vacant when we were buying the building, and we've earmarked it to become kind of an Airbnb for, so both of these are an Airbnb, but for us to have some type of headquarters here, someplace to also be able to come and work and potentially do more deals here. Rather than paying for Airbnbs like the one we're paying for right now where we're in Scottsdale, we would have our own space there. So we're going to be doing that. So these are some of the creative things you can do when you control real estate. And it can make us a lot more money doing an Airbnb or a couple Airbnbs in this complex because we have a very high mortgage payment because we did buy it under not the most appealing terms because it was one of those deals that it's kind of like hard money where you're buying something and eventually you're going to refinance. And so it's going to help us not be negative in cash flow by doing a couple Airbnbs on this property as well. So, but you just have to kind of, it's a tricky balance between having regular tenants and Airbnb tenant, type of guests. And so, but we do have a lot of experience and that's why we're kind of earmarking the units that are kind of independent rather than the ones that are going to be close to each other.
You wouldn't want to maybe put an Airbnb in that S112 up there, that single 1-1 and a 2. If you put an Airbnb in the middle of those, then you're going to impact those other long-term tenants, right?
Yeah, exactly. So likely we just do Airbnb on these and Airbnb on these, and that would be it. And then one of them will be kind of a little bit more of our unit that we get to use and or share with, and once we have these units up and going, then that also allows us to have ways to house people and or our team or some of our network in the Phoenix market, or when they want to come to the Phoenix market, we have for ourselves. So they'll have places to stay for them in Hawaii, places to stay for them in Phoenix, and a place to stay in
Hollywood, Hawthorne, just about all over the place. So I know Ulysses is dropping some fire emojis in there. He loves to hear that. So good stuff, man. And again, great question on that one, Ali. Ali had another question, and we kind of went over that, Alex, which was, the economic occupancy versus the physical occupancy of this property. So, we kind of went over that, Ali. We have about 7 of the units that are going to be vacant, and that puts us in a cash deficiency of about $9,000 or so per month from our mortgage. So essentially, we are going to eat that couple of $1,000s on a couple of months in order to facilitate a quick and aggressive turnover of those vacant units.
Yep. So do we have any other questions? I did have some stuff that I wanted to share.
Yeah, Maria actually has a great question as well. And we kind of alluded to it a little bit ago, but yeah, guys, this is literally the same calculator. Alex, can you pull that up and go back to the calculator on this deal? Because yeah, guys, this is the same exact calculator that we are using to flip single families that we were able to use on flipping multifamilies as well. And why we're able to do that, guys, is because it breaks down what our down payment is, what our out-of-pocket rehab is going to be, what our hard money points are, what our lender points are. All those different kind of features are going to be similar, whether it's a multifamily or a single family. You might have some positive rental income coming from something like this, whereas you might not have that on a flip. But those are just kind of subtle differences that you can change on the calculator.
Yeah, and so let me share a little bit too of the numbers. So essentially, what our mortgage payment will be somewhere around $20,000. Our income right now from the property is only, like he was saying, about $11,000. But once the value add play has been done, that would kind of like reverse, where we'll essentially have $20,000 north of that, 22, 23, up to north of $22,000, $23,000 of income of the property, plus any other additional stuff like the storages, all the other stuff. So we'll be, and then once we refinance, then our projected payment, I think at that time, shouldn't be much more than 13, 14,000 from what my numbers are showing, possibly less. So that being the case, it can go from being negative to positive $10,000 a month, and provide the tax strategy and provide all the other stuff and have all or most of our money out of the deal and all of our investors paid. That's really the target, to have all those taken care of. But we are kind of eating at the beginning. We are not in a cash flow positive yet, but it's a value add play, and it's going to take some time to become profitable. And that's how these deals sometimes work out. They're not always cash flow positive in the beginning, and that's why your job is to go in there and to extract the most amount of value you can from that particular property.
Yeah, man, a great way of putting it. And Hector even dropped a great comment in here as well, guys. There is a rental calculator available on Bigger Pockets that you can use in conjunction with this calculator to kind of make sure that everything stacks up.
Yeah, we do have a calculator that was calculating all that with the cash flow and all that. It's just a very complex calculator, and it's very difficult for me to share it. We're just showing you guys kind of the skinnies right now, the real basic kind of overview of the deal. But as far as like going into the exact details of when it's going to become cash flow positive, how much we can raise the rents to, all that, that's another calculator that unfortunately we just don't have available to use right now, and or like it'd be much more complex to explain that over this kind of webinar. So if you guys have any questions about that, I'm happy to share that other calculator with you guys, because that one, it did take some time for me to figure it out. Whereas this one here that we use on the flip side of things, that's relatively simple, and we've been using it for so long, it's like second nature now. So, but yeah, I did want to share some kind of points, kind of some of the things that I learned, and or some things that were kind of the challenges of the deal, and that way you guys can not only see the potential big win and all the numbers, all the positive, but also see the challenges from my perspective, Will's perspective for doing this deal. So do you mind then, Will, if I share that?
No, go for it.
All right. Yeah. So one big thing was like initially getting the deal presented to me. It seemed to work. It seemed to make sense. I was confident that it can work. I still remember being on the phone with with Max Gonzalez, the wholesaler slash. I mean, he double escrowed it, but I mean, he wholesaled us in a sense, right? And he was presenting a deal, but he said, yeah, you gotta have to submit $135,000 hard EMD once you go past a certain time, right? Like look at the deal, and then once you vet it. So it was only a couple of days. I only had a couple of days, and I had to submit $135,000 hard deposit. I've never even had a hard deposit over $5,000. And a hard deposit essentially means like you're not getting that money back.
That is goodbye, right? That means it is
no refund.
Yeah, it's no refundable. All right. So that, I mean, it's a lot of money, right? When you talk about not having a chance for recourse, not having a chance to get that money returned, like, it got more than that, right?
Yeah. And it ended up getting more than that. But that initial hard EMD, I mean, it took me probably about half day to stomach that. Like, damn, like, I mean, what could go wrong? Can I really take this deal down? I began to doubt myself. Naturally, right? This is a big transaction. We're talking about multi-million-dollar acquisition costs, and close to $1 million, and having to come to the table potentially for this deal. So that was something that it doesn't matter what level you're at, you guys. Like there's challenges like that. Submitting a $5,000 EMD that is refundable is challenging at the beginning because it could be a lot of money. But I just kept thinking about like my team. Analyzing the deal. I called several people that I trust highly that have done deals of the size are much bigger. So I just really trying not to look at it so emotionally, but it was difficult. Sending that 135, knowing that like, hey, there's no way. I mean, if I don't perform, I don't get this deal done. Like that was really commitment, right? Like putting the stake in the ground. We're doing this, and we did it. So that was, I think, one big challenge at the very beginning. Next one was immediately that the due diligence of reviewing a multifamily deal is a lot more than just one house. You're looking at the current rent roll to really analyze how accurate it is, how low it is compared to what it could be, as far as rent, but you don't want to overshoot, but, rents are kind of increasing, at least, in this, market or staying, they're not decreasing. And you're really looking at a granular level and focusing a lot of mental energy to look at the numbers of how much the rents are, how much they could be. You're looking at the expenses of the property, looking about what utilities can be changed to the tenants. You're looking at things on a much more granular level than you would like on a single family house. And that was very difficult for me. Will can focus a lot better when it comes to stuff like that than I can. But it wasn't Will's task or job to do that. He was running the operations of all the other deals. So that was my task. And it was difficult, man. I didn't like it. It's exhausting for me to be in front of a computer looking at spreadsheets for hours at a time. And that's exactly what I kind of had to do. So I think that was another huge challenge, that you're going to have to do things, taking these deals down that are really outside your comfort zone or something that you typically don't like to do. And that was the case with that. Also, another big one was just the amount of capital that we needed to execute and buy this deal was far larger, like 5 times larger, 5 to 10 times larger, more than what we typically raise, or more than I typically put in my own money into deals. And so that was something that it was daunting. I knew we could do it, and it came down. I mean, no pun intended, like down to the wire. But I knew that I wanted to put a certain amount of money. I knew that Will was going to put a certain amount of money. And then I knew that the rest, like we'd find the right money partners. But having to come up with $1 million, like I'd be lying to you if I told you I thought that was really like possible, even like 6 months ago. But because of the growth, the deals that we've been closing on, making huge profits on in LA. I mean, I think we've had like 3 6-figure profit deals just this year alone in some of our deals. So like we're bringing in profit. Well, we need to allocate that into stuff like this that's going to give us all other benefits that the single family flipping is not. So kind of just balance those out. Also,
and Alex, we do the same conversations on a single family, right? That's why we have the best case and the worst case scenarios. so that we can kind of level set and say like, hey, what would this look like if that went bad?
Yeah, exactly. So if everything hit the fan and we really botch it on this one, what could those numbers look like? And then on this simple scenario, it seemed like we were in pretty good shape. We kind of just keep the property, just kind of cash flow it, and just wait the market change down the road if we absolutely had to. And then if we had to, then just paying off our investors through some of the flip income that we have coming in, kind of as kind of worst case scenario, like if we get to let's say a year at the end of 1 year and people are expecting to get their money back, then we would just kind of prepare for that by paying it at some of the profits that we're making on the other single family. So we had already prepared for stuff like that, and then we would just be more invested ourselves in the deal. Now, another big part about this transaction, what made it very difficult, you guys, is that when you're dealing with multifamily, there's just a lot more moving parts. So, for example, I had to be in touch with the property management company. The lender lending on this property, usually these bigger multifamily deals, they require that you have property management in place when you're acquiring the property. And it can't just be some, self-managed by yourself at a certain size. So even though there's only 18 units, like the lender was requiring that we brought on a property management company. So I had to interview these property management companies my first time. I had to kind of get on meetings with them, really kind of decide which company we're going to go with. So there's that. And then we had to coordinate that with the lender. And then just the lender options when you're dealing with this size of property or this size deal and this size of loan amount, it's very different than single family. So even though I have a lending background, it still was challenging to continually deal with all these people. And because for me, it was all about performance, but we still wanted to get some decent rates and terms. And then we ended up going with someone locally. Frankly, I was not very happy with the overall process, how it went, and with the loan that was provided. But it was very sure that this person knew the market and could get it done. And that's exactly what happened. So even though I was not really happy with the overall package that we got from the lender, it still ended up working out because they were local. So kind of went with that. So that way, remember, I had 135, and then at the end point of the transaction, I had 200,000 hard deposit on that deal. And so if we didn't perform, we stand to lose $200,000, which I was not going to let happen. And also, we have to also get in touch with an attorney to create a single member or single asset LLC to put the property in. And then so that was a moving part. We also had to really pay a close attention to the rehab budget and kind of get a business plan. A business plan is basically saying, like, I'm going to do this to this property, and you don't really ever have to come up with business plans for a single family. You do have like a scope of work, or you're telling the lender, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But a multifamily is way more detailed. They want to know really what you're going to do to the property to bring the value up. And they're lending you a lot of money. So it's their right to ask all these questions and make you prepare these additional documents that you need help sometimes getting and also because they're matching up with the loan application. And so there was just a lot of coordination. And then finally, doing all this on the 18 unit, in addition to juggling the other 20 sold properties and projects that we have going on across Southern California, Hawaii, and we do have one deal in Vegas, it was just a ton of work because if it was only this 18 unit, then I would have been fine just kind of focusing all my attention on that. But it was that plus everything else. And some of the, you guys know I travel a lot. So plus traveling, enjoying life. It was just really difficult to juggle it all. And I was stressed out. I was stressed out a lot. A lot of nights I barely got any rest, or I was working 10, 12 hours every single day for weeks straight. But we got it done. And it was a huge relief. But those were some of the things I've learned, some of the challenges that we had to overcome on this acquisition. So I just wanted to kind of be real transparent with you guys and share it with you because this is stuff that, made us grow. It pushed us. I'm really proud of the team and everybody around because everybody really did rise to the occasion and got it done. So that's, kind of some of the challenges I want to share with you guys on that.
Good stuff. And again, I think that this project is a learning lesson, right? Just like everybody's kind of first flip, you can learn a lot on that first flip. And this is, a first multifamily. So I think a lot of those points that you mentioned, might not be the same on our next deal, right? We might not go with the not as not as good of terms on a loan, right? We might not go with the same property manager. We might not go with some of those things because now we've learned and we're able to make those pivots a little bit later. There was, one great question that came in from Tiago asking about the Airbnb effects on the NOI and the long-term rentals. And, we kind of looked at the overview of the property. So from above, when you look at it, most of our Airbnbs that we're planning on holding are going to be up front loaded into the front of the property. So they're going to be these two right here and those two right there that Alex is circling. Very easy access, right? Those cars can pull in. They both have private parking spots that are already dedicated to those units. And so they make it really easy. There's a backyard for them. They both have front yard space, where some of the other units don't have those. So these are premium units that are going to be able to get the premium price.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, let me answer part of that question because that's a fantastic question. It came up in our research whether we wanted to do some short-term rentals on the property. So in a sense, we're going to structure in a way where it's going to appear just like their rare long-term rentals, because as I understand it, it's really not helpful trying to refinance and get a kind of traditional loan on the property, and then there being Airbnb income on the property. It might not actually help the loan, the refinance. I don't know if you have any feedback on that, once we kind of finish this up.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll open up the group to everybody else now. If you go ahead and make me host, Alex, we'll start to get some people welcomed in here. On that point, guys, if you are trying to do an Airbnb on one of the units, a lot of times the way that it'll work is you will only be able to capture market rent for your area. So let's say that your Airbnb unit on that front place might generate $3,000 to $4,000 of monthly income. It might only have a market rent of $1,600, which means that when you go to apply for a loan, there's going to be a gap of $1,600 to $2,500 there that you're not going to be able to account for, because that lender is only going to take into account what the market rent would be for that property, assuming that Airbnb did not work out. So always good things to keep in mind when you guys are looking at it. Randy, we got another great question from you coming in. Did the local lender you use require a key principal that met certain liquidity and experience requirements? So that's something we haven't talked about yet. And again, great question, Randy. Alex will go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about our partner that we brought in on that, while we go ahead and get everybody else in here into the chat.
Yeah, so let me share with that because that's a very important question. When you go to take out a loan of this size, typically they're really going to analyze your net worth, your current real estate owned, your assets, liabilities, all that. And so I had to go very granular and detailed on that. Unfortunately, once I went even more in detail than I have in the past to get the loan apply for that loan, my net worth was more than I expected. Although I track it, I mean, I'm not looking at it every single day. And so I thought I could get the loan by myself, but it really, at the end of the day, I didn't want to take any chances. So I brought on somebody that had multifamily experience for a small equity piece of the property. Unfortunately, he didn't perform, as we wanted at that time because he had other things going on. And so we had to pivot midway through the transaction and then add somebody else as a key principal. And so he didn't put no money, and he put out 10% of the deal. And he's also the partner that I have on the Maui house. So he helped a lot with the heavy lifting that I couldn't do with the paperwork, with having the interviews, talking to all the key people within the transaction. And he also owns 300 or so doors himself. So that helped really get the loan secured and knowing that we can get it done, like stamp of approval. Didn't help all that much with the terms at the end of the day, which I was a little upset about because that's why I brought him on. But ultimately, I mean, he's a great partner and he helped me get the deal done. And he did do what he did. He did what he needed to do, and he earned his equity slice. But we didn't need to give him a large amount because at the same time he was just there for the loan and he did not provide any capital. And we got the capital and the deal. So yeah.
Awesome, thank
But
you.
Randy, it's a great question, right? Because again, like, you're not just going to walk into a bank and apply for a $3 million or $2.5 million loan without them knowing. Now, on the flip side, yeah, you very well can go in and maybe get somebody in there without a key principal. Maybe you just have such a good deal that lender is like, dude, you got a 60% of ARV, deal here. Like, we'll give you 2 points and 10% interest, but we'll work that down as you get a little bit more experience here. They're not going to give you that benefit of the doubt when you're talking about 2.5, 3, anything really over like $1 million. It just really kind of gets a lot more scrutiny on your records and on your books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now they ended up giving us a higher rate because he didn't have multifamily experience in Phoenix, which really ticked me off too. So all these, yeah, exactly. See, I mean, you're laughing. It's like, what are you talking about? This guy has 300 doors, and oh, you don't have multifamily experience in the valley or whatever in Phoenix. It was totally just like, oh, I was so upset. Hey man, we're close. We got it done.
So guys, we love this part because this is, where you guys get to kind of chat and tune in. I appreciate all the incredible questions you guys had, but any other questions or any other, comments you guys want to give on this project? Again, it's the biggest deal of Alex's career by far, and obviously that means by default that's going to be my biggest deal too. So this has been quite an undertaking, and we were really stoked to share it with you guys today.
Awesome, awesome.
Randy, you got a question?
Yeah.
Fire away, man.
What kind of issues or surprises, came up during your due diligence process on the property?
There were no books, right? Like the previous owner, 0 books. So, I mean, we looked at some of the square footages and it's like, we walked into one and it was like 600 square feet on paper. And I walked into another one that was 600 square feet on paper. And I was like, yeah, this is probably not going to be correct right here, and rent rolls, things like that, Alex, were very few and far between.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't, nothing really popped up that scared me as far as the rehab is concerned. It was all about the surprises were really mainly on the financing side. So I think when it came to due diligence, that was a solid part of it. Like our good friend Edwin that does a lot of multifamily here, he introduces to a great plumber and electrician. They walked the property during our due diligence, and they're both, yeah, you got to do this and this, but they're both like, yeah, this is good bones. Like you're good to go on this one, man. You're not going to have to spend too much. We got this. And so, but like you said, that just having no books and kind of just flying blind, of what was happening with the exact details of the business or details of the property and the numbers from the property, it was a little concerning. But once we figured out, this has a lot of potential upside for the income and all the tax benefits, we're like, okay, there wasn't really anything that for me that was like, oh man, this was like, it was mainly on the financing side that we got a lot of shockers, a lot of surprises. But
and Randy, the main reason I'll comment on that, why it wasn't really that surprising, right? Rehab wise, it's a 700 square foot unit. So like the cabinets in these things are 2 cabinets and a sink. So it's like, there's really not much that you can be surprised by that. There's 700 square feet of flooring. I was surprised when I walked into one of the units and there was a washer and dryer in the closet in the bedroom. But again, it was like, okay, cool. So we need to move the washer and dryer, not the washer and dryer, the water heater, right? Not something that's gonna, scare us when we're rehabbing 1,500, 2,000 square foot homes, out here in California with regularity. So the other thing to keep in mind is that there are units within our structure that are, 4 units to 1 building, right? So the surprise would have really been like, hey, is the roof bad on this building? No, Alex and I got up and walked on most of the roofs with 2 different roofing, professionals. And, when you do the due diligence on these things, that's why you get a longer period, right? It's not 14-day close, 1-day inspection. They knew that we were going to come through. We did a full day of inspection, multiple vendors. So really they kind of, ironed out all the surprises that could have come our way.
Yeah.
I think we spent $3,000 on inspections prior to purchase.
Yes.
Which is again significantly more than like a $250, $300 inspection on a single family. So we really did pay the correct partners to make sure that we knew all those surprises beforehand.
Yep.
Great questions, guys. I think this was a great chance for you guys to kind of see how, as you grow in your flipping business, as you grow in your knowledge, like Alex has been able to do, he's been a full-time investor now for over 6 years. And now a project like this is starting to come, into his pipeline and into his ability that, hey, I have a team in place now. I have the right people in the right places where this is a deal that we could take down. But it's very much attainable for anybody else as well, right?
Yeah, Tiago is a perfect example. He's on the call right now, or I don't know if he's still on, but the guy, he had he's buying 20, 30, 40, 50 units a year.
Yeah.
He has not been at it for what I understand all that long. So, you know, it's just a matter of having, you know, networking enough to be around people that are doing deals like this, having a, you know, growing a somewhat of a good, you know, a team that could help you execute some of this stuff. For us also was important in this transaction is we're pretty clear, like we want to invest in Phoenix, we want to invest in about this size of property. We're looking for a value add type of property. We also need some tax benefits. So we kind of had a very specific purchase criteria like we do in Southern California for that.
And Alex made trips to go see each of these potential destinations that we were going to purchase in. So like, you know, Randy, I know you purchase out of state, right? Same idea, right? Like you got to do a little bit of due diligence. And when Alex, you know, came out here to Arizona, we both came out here a couple of times. And every time we were out here, we made it known like, hey, we are going to be buying a multifamily in this area. Like you can either be a part of it or you can be on the sideline and watch it happen. And, you know, thankfully we had people that were like, hey, I want to be a part of that. And you know, that's how we were able to get to where we are now.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's definitely been like a lot of love here in Arizona, but, you know, we've connected with some great people. There's some great investor base over here in Arizona, man. People are really helpful. And we were joking in the car the other day. We're like, man, it almost feels like people are like, it's like that crowd surfing. Like people are like, oh, they're holding us up. We're like, oh man, thanks, bro. Like, we need a demo guy. People are giving us demo guys. You know, we need this, we need that. It really feels great, man. That, you know, we provided a lot of value. We come in here and then now finally do a deal, and then people are just like with their, you know, giving us all the referrals that we need to execute. And then, you know, obviously we're grateful, and in turn we're trying to provide some value to this market and, you know, these type of deals that are in this area. So good chatting with you guys. Always love these deal reviews. This one's extra special. Stay in touch. Also go out there and, you know, push yourself to the limit. I shared with you how stressful this deal was, but, you know, at the end of the day, like we got it done. And you know, that just says to the team, you know, that if you put yourself around the right people, guys, you can make this happen too. So we'll see you guys next week. Let us know if you need anything. Let's get it.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys on the flip side, all right?
See you guys.
Good seeing you, Mama.